reading Reddit horror stories again, so let's get into it. So today I decided to go for a different subreddit page. This one is horror stories. So the first story I found is called Abandoned Asylum, and it's by user Drunk Toast. So that will be up on the screen. So, the starting of it says, "Trigger warning, this story contains graphic violence and disturbing imagery that may be unsettling for some readers. Reader discretion is advised." I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Let's find out. Okay. The old asylum loomed over the town like a dark cloud. It had been abandoned for years, its walls stained with the memories of the horrors that had occurred within them. The townsfolk avoided it like the plague, warning their children not to go near it, but even their warnings couldn't keep curiosity at bay. It was a group of teenagers who first dared to enter the asylum. They had heard the stories and wanted to see if they were true. They crept through the broken windows and rusted doors, laughing and joking nervously as they explored the dark, damp corridors. But as they delved deeper into the asylum, they began to feel a sense of unease. The air grew colder, and the silence was broken only by the sound of their footsteps echoing ominously through the halls. It was then that they heard it, a low, guttural growl that seemed to come from deep within the bowels of the asylum. They froze, their hearts pounding in their chests as they tried to locate the source of the sound, but it seemed to be coming from all around them, surrounding them like a pack of wolves. Suddenly, something lunged out of the darkness. It was a creature unlike anything they had ever seen before. Its skin was pale and mottled, with eyes that burned like coals in the darkness. Its teeth were razor sharp and its claws glinted in the dim light. Is it a demigorgon? I'm just kidding, guys, I'm so sorry. The teenagers screamed and ran, their footsteps echoing through the halls as they fled for their lives. But it was too late. The creature was upon them, tearing into their flesh with savage abandon. The screams echoed through the asylum, but no one heard them. The townsfolk had long since abandoned the asylum, and the teenagers had entered at their own risk. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The asylum remained silent and abandoned, a dark reminder of the horrors that occurred within its walls. But one day, a group of urban explorers stumbled upon the asylum. They were drawn to it like moths to a flame, their curiosity overcoming their fear. As they crept through the halls, they began to notice something strange. The air was thick with a sense of malevolence, and the shadows seemed to move of their own accord. But still they passed on, their curiosity driving them deeper into the darkness. It was then that they discovered the creature. It was slumped in a corner, its pale skin stretched taut over its skeletal frame. Its eyes were closed and its breathing was shallow. It was clear that it was dying. The explorers hesitated. They had come to the asylum seeking adventure, but they had not expected to find something like this. They could see the creature's bones protruding from its flesh, and its skin was covered in bruises and cuts. It was clear that it had been tortured. But despite its injuries, the creature opened its eyes. They all burned with a fierce intensity, and the explorers could feel them piercing their souls. They tried to run, but they were rooted to the spot, unable to move as the creature began to speak. Its voice was low and rasping, like the sound of bones grinding together. It spoke in a language that the explorers couldn't understand. They were never seen again. So currently, as I'm recording this, I am the third upvote. I really like some of the description. I thought the similes and descriptive words were really nice. I could really paint a clear picture in my head, so I really loved the writing style of Drunk Toast. It is one of those stories that doesn't really have an ending, which piques questions. So yeah, that was very interesting. We'll never know what's going on in that asylum. Unfortunately, I kind of want to theorize my own ideas, but I'm kind of tired. I'm filming again after work. The second episode I did a video straight after work, but yeah, that was a great first story. Okay, so the second story is A Terrifying Reunion with My Twin Brother by user AnUnkownEarther. again on the subreddit page Horror Stories. So let's get started. As soon as the plane landed, Tanya's heart raced with excitement and nerves. After 15 years of searching, she had finally found her twin brother Thomas. They had separated at birth and had no idea the other existed until a few months ago. Tanya had been elated to find out she had a twin brother, but her joy was quickly overshadowed by a feeling of dread. Thomas had grown up in a rough area and had a troubled past. He'd been in and out of jail and had a history of substance abuse. Tanya had hoped that they could build a relationship, but she was afraid that his troubled past might ruin everything. Tanya got off the plane and saw Thomas waiting for her at the gate. As soon as he saw her, he rushed over to embrace her. Tanya felt a sense of relief wash over her. Thomas seemed genuinely happy to see her and had brought flowers as a welcome gift. They spent the day catching up and reminiscing about their childhood. Thomas shared stories of his struggles and how he had turned his life around after hitting rock bottom. Tanya felt a renewed sense of hope and optimism about their relationship. As the sun began to set, Thomas suggested they take a walk on a nearby beach. Tanya agreed, and they set off to the deserted shoreline. But as they walked, Tanya began to notice something strange about her brother. His eyes seemed to flicker with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. His movements were jerky and unpredictable, and she found herself stepping back in fear. Suddenly, Thomas turned to her with a cold, calculating look in his eyes. "I've been waiting for this moment for a long time," he said, his voice low and menacing. "You have something I need, and I'm going to take it from you." Tanya stumbled backwards, realizing too late that her long-lost twin brother was not the kind and gentle soul she had hoped he would be. He lunged at her, and Tanya ran for her life, the sound of his footsteps pounding on the sand behind her. Well, Thomas revealed his true colours very quickly, didn't he? She sprinted down the beach, her heart racing with terror. She could hear Thomas getting closer and closer, his breath hot on her neck. She knew that she would have to find a way to escape, or she would be trapped forever. As she ran, Tanya heard a strange chanting coming from behind her. The sound seemed to be coming from Thomas, and it sent chills down her spine. She knew she had to get help. Tanya saw a group of people sitting around a bonfire in the distance and ran towards them, hoping they would be able to help her. As she got closer, she realized that the group was not what it seemed. They were dressed in dark robes and their faces were twisted with malice. Tanya tried to turn back, but it was too late. The group had already surrounded her. She screamed for help, but no one came. The group started to chant, and Tanya felt a sharp pain in her chest. She looked down and saw that a knife had been plunged into her heart. Oh my god. As she lay dying on the beach, Tanya realized that her brother and the group had been part of a sinister cult. They had been waiting for her to find Thomas so they could sacrifice her to the dark gods. Tanya's reunion with her long-lost twin brother had turned into a nightmare, and she would never forget the horror she had felt on that deserted beach. So the ending of that story was like, Tanya would never forget the horror. Does that mean she survived, or did she actually die? Where she was stabbed is obviously a really dangerous area. Wow, that turned dark really quickly. I don't even know what to say. That's horrible. I really hope that isn't like a true crime story, because, you know, of all the horror stories that we have covered in this series, the ones that actually talk about real human beings, it's really likely that this has happened in real life. Like, there's billions of people on the globe, and we've heard of unspeakable crimes, you know, just on the internet, anywhere. And people can be more scary than anything supernatural. So yeah, they are the stories that we have read today. I thought it would just be nice to kind of try a different subreddit page. I will say the page No Sleep is a bit better. There's a lot more writers on there, and it's so much easier to kind of find stories. This page kind of has like some self-promotion going on for their videos, which is fine. Just loads of random queries and interactive posts. but nonetheless the stories were still interesting and engaging. So I hope you guys liked this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.